it's kind of this thing of where people say business versus like women's business, but then, how does that help customers know who to support? And like, how can you be sure that a company is, is advertising itself that way and like is actually real?
Yes. So there's a chapter in the book called Consumer Activism, which is, I do believe can have an impact. There's a limit to its impact, but it's essentially using our money to vote for the things that we believe in. So, and it can look so different depending on what's important to you, but something that's important to me is supporting like women-owned businesses, BIPOC-owned businesses, LGBTQ plus owned businesses, like diversely owned businesses, and with bigger companies having diversity on management. But someone else might be I know someone, I interviewed 3 people for the book on their consumer activism criteria. So what they look for in companies before spending money with them. And some were about labor practices specifically, like that was their number one. Some were about solely the environment. So it's very personal, but that's something that I like to highlight on my Instagram is how people can find, and those are all community sourced. So having like our Instagram community say who their favorite businesses are in those communities was a way to showcase those businesses. And then we did put them into websites so they were more easily searchable and clickable. But there's a lot of, I remember when I got my women-owned business certification, it was just me. I had no employees. I had full ownership, but the process to certify was like months and hours because so many people do tricky things and manipulate things in order to get those certifications.
Wait, what do you mean? What's a women-owned business certification? This is the first I'm hearing of this.
So there's different certifications, and one of them is that I got was WeBank. So it's a women-owned business to prove that I am, because companies, if they some companies try to track their minority-owned businesses or diversity dollars. And so it was a way to be vetted in advance for companies to be able to track that. But I remember just being shocked at how simple my company is and how small and how much information they needed to prove that I was women-owned. But I think it is because so many people try to get it. And they might do something where, they give it's women owned, but then they have a large loan to a man or something. So there is some control there. So different ways to make it look women owned when it's not. And I'm sure that happens in all types of businesses.
Who is certifying this?
It is an organization. I'm blanking on the name, but it's WeBank. WBENC is the one that I did. And I know states do it as well. New York City does it.
And the idea is you're registering with these people so that other places can look and find businesses run by women?
Yes. And knowing with, like, because you mentioned, how do you know it's real?
Yeah.
And so I do think that, and they do, I don't know if there's different ones. It's not just women owned, but it is that, okay, they've gone through this vetting process and I can trust. So it's a certification in that way, I think.
What do you do? You put it on your website, certified?
You can put the logo on your website or on I guess it depends on the type of business. If, like, let's say you have a flyer of some sort, you can put it there. Yeah.
Whoa, I never heard of this. So, like, the process was, what do they ask for?
So they asked for a lot of things, like the ownership, P&Ls, taxes, a lot of documentation. So it did. And then there is an interview where someone comes to your office, which now, to my home to interview me and like make sure that, not only do they want to know that it's owned by me, but also that I'm making the decisions.
They came to your house?
They came to my house, yeah.
And what did they ask you?
I had to do it. I did it twice because I think it lasts for a few years, but they just about the business, and they also want to support you in growing your business. And they do hold events where they try to connect you with people who might hire you.
Whoa.
And yeah, so I think one of my friends worked in DE&I, and she was the one who recommended that they get that certification, because for her, they look for that when they're hiring speakers or companies to come in.
What's DE&I?
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Got it.
Like that was her role within a bank.
Whoa, interesting. I mean, the other person we're speaking to is an expert on feminist and lesbian restaurants starting in like the 1970s. So I was just curious, like that's interesting that they have that. And I wonder, do you know if they have it for like LGBTQ businesses or?
They do, yes. And I think it's minority owned.
What?
I don't know if there's like a Black owned one or if it's more broad, but then yes, LGBTQ plus owned businesses is one as well.
Wow, paperwork.
Yes,
They love to give you paperwork.